the crash has started. That's going to start the domino effect. We're going to watch this whole worldwide financial system unfold in front of us. And I'm just here to ask you, are you ready? Is everybody ready? Do you have food put aside? And do you have water put aside? Not just for yourself immediate, because there will be a lot of crazy people on the streets, which we're witnessing right now. Look at the absolute chaos going on in the streets right now. That's only gonna get worse. You drive into Hawaii right now, you fly into Hawaii, and as soon as you get from the airport that you're going into Honolulu, I believe it is, Waikiki, all that area there, completely filled up with people living in vans and cars, pickup trucks, maybe small temporary campers, tents in the back of trucks. It's just unbelievable. Nobody has a house anymore, right? And take a look at all the people that are in Vernon. We have sisters and brothers in Vernon right now that communicate with me that, they've lost everything. And they're thinking they have to, maybe because there's nothing going to be there, all they got is the land left. It's all burnt out. And I'm not even going to get into Spokane, but it's all burnt out there. And they're talking about, going back and living with their family, maybe back in Saskatchewan or Calgary or, up country or wherever. They have to vacate that particular area. Why did they want that Vernon area so much? Why? Is because maybe they're going to put a data center there. We're under attack. Spokane lost 700, maybe 800 homes. Maybe it could be up to 1,200 homes they lost there. Why? And they're all everybody. So that's what, maybe 5 or 4 people in each family. That's like 4,000 or 5,000 people homeless now, just in Spokane. Right? Cars are burned. I don't know if any lives were lost in Spokane. I don't know. Or even if it was even, we seen the fires coming. That was in Vernon. When's going to be the next one? Is the Alliance going to get a handle on this to stop this? Because quite obviously they don't have control of it right now. Is the military going to be there to protect the citizens? Right? That's all I'm saying. How's it going, Pat? Thank you, Maria. Patriots will always survive. I am watching very closely on guys out there, people out there. They're moving out of their. Thank you, Cheryl. They're moving out of their homes, their apartments. They're getting into their RVs, their campers, their buses, and whatever they're doing. They're making, and they're putting everything on wheels. And they're living off the grid. They're like-minded people. They set up like a big circle out. They go out into the bush or in the what do you want to call it, the parks, and everybody will go in there and park. They'll put all their vehicles in a big circle, and then they'll set up all the lights, turn on the music, and start dancing, just like it was back in the 60s, just like it was in the hippie days. And I just look at that and I says, boy, they got their act together. They know exactly what's going on, right? They know. They're not being controlled by having property. When your own property that was given to you either by your parents and it was handed down, or you had to buy it outright yourself and had to work for it very, very hard to, they got you. As soon as you buy that land and that foundation and the real estate, you got money tied up in it. That's your power, and they could very well, you're under threat at that point. They're after the middle class. They can't do that with what's going on there. They cannot do that when you are living out of your campers and doing the things that you're doing. I made that move a long time ago. I've been living, doing camper life for 10 years in Canada. Only, I was doing it through the winter sometimes, but now I do my winters in the Philippines, that is a place where there's no, personal, fundamental, personal feelings for properties or equities or businesses. Yeah. Eventually we will have to carry a blue, I'm sorry, I never caught that. A blue umbrella. Yeah, I know what you're saying. To walk outside. Yeah. To stay safe. Yeah, exactly. From the direct energy. I know what you're saying, Robert. And that's a really good point. It's something not to be laughed at. That's the only thing that they won't be able to, or maybe paint our vehicles blue. But like it says, in the meantime, we're sitting ducks. Because it's to the point where our president, commander in chief, as well as he's doing peacekeeping around the world, he doesn't have control of what these direct energy, bastards are doing, right? Yeah. But that's a good point. Thank you, Robert. Yeah, and I hate blue. I mean, to have a nice blue car, it'd be, yeah, sure, that's pretty cool. It has to be, that certain type of blue, right? Yeah, but that's something that the direct energy and the microwaves cannot penetrate. Thank you, Robert. Appreciate that. And thank you, Alexis. Welcome. Another Patriot from Russia. I know it's Russia. Yeah. Tell by the writing. Thank you, Maria. You feel the same way too? Yeah. I'm just saying here, like it says, I love all my Patriots. You are my soul family, and I have to get my 2 cents worth in there to explain things to how I feel from a daily. It could be, something that's upbeat, but it's also something that we have to sound the alarm, so we know we have, like it says, information is power. Information, having good information, could save lives. Alex, everything is starting to get cold. It's taking far too long to wait this out. Yes, I know. But we will keep fighting. Yes, I know what you're saying, Christina. Yeah, it's very taxing on our souls. Because, everything that we work for all our lives is being compromised. Hi, Donna. Good question. I have a small business. Yes, I mean, this is what happens with small business. If everybody says, well, yeah, I mean, I got to go buy this, I got to go buy that, because otherwise, if I don't buy this, it's going to be a write-off. I can buy this and get a write-off, or put money in there and have to pay the taxes. So what they design it for is that you go out there and buy something, okay? That's what the corporation, or that's what the government does. They give you incentive to build up all your inventory in there so they can corporate raid you. Okay, so what you do, you jump in that and you you go after the hard banking and go in there and get some, push some banking money or borrow heavy against that business and have that bill payment and have that business pay for that while you got all that money. You don't need to put it in there. And then maybe on the side, sell some of your inventory through cash deals on the side. You don't have to give them inventory or try to declare that. It's all corruption, but they need you. You need to be corrupt in order to run a small business. Sometimes I think they tell us a good thing are soon to keep us engaged. Yeah, exactly, and they keep us sitting in our seats that we're not going to do anything. And it's a really good point, Dino. They keep us, they pacify us with all this good news, the hopium, right? How you doing, Betty? Meanwhile, all this stuff is going on here, and I'm starting to question it. Michael Jaco's starting to question it. Scott McKay's starting to question it. David Rodriguez is starting to question it. He's really questioning it right now. And this is exactly what's going on. There's a really good video on him talking to Pat Burns and Steve. He comes on. Steve is on there quite a bit, and he's very well rehearsed, and he's connected with upper echelon military. And very, very good video yesterday. And I'm going to go back and listen to it again today. And I think that he was on Rumble. David Nino Rodriguez talking to Pat Burns and I forget Steve's last name. But how you doing, Lisa? And Ken, how things going? Kathy, how are you? Younger people, it's all about the disruption for them, getting attention. Yes. Yeah, they need validation every day because they have weak confidence. They have no confidence because it's all been ripped out of them by the fascists. Will the silver not rise this year? Oh yeah, the silver is always rising. It's going to take off. I think, based on my many years, and I've been collecting silver. Goes back to the 70s. Actually, 1977 is when I started getting into it in that first go around before the 80s, and it took off. And that went to $50. From $12 it went to 50, and I bought myself a new car with it. But then I sold all my silver to buy a new car, right? But whatever. But that's what happened. But then it laid dormant for the next 30, 35 years. It laid dormant. Now it's starting to. Now see how things are. Okay, yeah, now we need silver right now because of we're moving out of the industrial age of the cars and, components and all, not the components, but the parts and pieces of the industrial age. We're moving into the technology age, which is all about, transistors and all this other stuff that is going to be needed. Cell phones, smartphones, cars, electric cars, all this stuff. That's all the technology age. And that's going to, the demand on silver, that's writing on the wall. It's writing on the wall. What's, the demand on silver and copper, not even to do with gold anymore. Gold is only a currency, and that's shiny, and it looks nice in a coin or a token. That's fine. Yeah. Alex, yes, we are flooded by atheists, and yeah, I know. They're trying to do a takeover, and they're doing that because they've got all these young ones, all these young commies, completely brainwashed, and that's what they did in Ukraine. They were doing that through the Khazars, which were the anti whatever you want to call them, right? And they were brainwashing their children. They had 2 generations like that of Ukrainian. That if you see the old flag, the Ukrainian flag, the blue and yellow, look at their emblem. It's the same emblem as the NAZIs of yesteryears. It's the same emblem as the Khazars. It is. It's all the same thing. They just kind of masked it up a bit. But if you look at the same, the Khazarians of Eastern Europe, that's their homeland, which is their home base of operation, and then they spread out from there. Yeah. Keep holding on to my Bible. Yes, the Bible really helps. Yes, it's a very powerful tool. They hate people that assimilate with our Lord and Savior. Anybody that says, look how they're taken or arrested and arrested and beaten for saying the Lord's Prayer in the streets of anywhere. You can't do it. It's against the law. They did it, and that's what Cornbread and his liberal oligarchies in Ottawa are doing right now. They're trying to put a law against preaching the Bible in public. They're trying to put a ban on prayer, on open prayer, but yet we can have all kinds of Muslims in the streets praying on the streets and stopping traffic. That's allowed. I mean, how obvious does it have to get what's going on, right? Yes, the silver will rise. It's rising right now. It's jumped almost $10 in the last week and the last 10 days. So it's about $1 a day. It's been increasing. So, I mean, if you're a real hardcore investor and you say you got 5,000 ounces of it, well, you're making $5,000 a day, right? $5,000 a day, and that's up 10. Now you got 50 grand that you just made in the last 5 days. That's where this goes. Yeah, you might have to invest some serious money, but the thing is, you're going to get serious money back. Let's just say if you had 100 ounces, okay? You're paying $100 for 100 ounces. What is that? 10 grand? Okay, now it goes to $2,000. Do the math. That's 200 grand on a $10,000 bet. Where in the world are you going to get that kind of return, right? Where is a safe place to buy the coins? At any place, Donna, any metals exchange, wherever city. What city do you live in? Tell me. Let's just do this right out in the open. What city do you don't have to give me your address. Don't give me that. What city do you live in? Tell me that, and I'll try to get this thing answered for you. Alex, Cyprus is being protected by Britain and the U.S. and Europe. I'm not sure. I do know that they're watching very closely what's going on. But as far as I'm concerned, if the alliance had control of it, we wouldn't have places getting burned out. I mean, it's just like it says, I know the ending's not going to be for everybody, but it's certainly not. I mean, you're burning out you're burning out conservatives and like-minded people that own homes and just want to do business. Vernon, now it's Summerland in Penticton area, right? Hey, Cheryl. At this point, they need to announce GN, whatever that is, and to return people to their own countries. Yes, I know. Well, that's what they're doing. That's what they're working on right now. I heard that the Danielle Smith has just shut down several trucking companies that were running illegally, and they were getting fined many fines, and they said, that's enough, you're done, we're going to shut you down because you're running on dangerous highways. How you doing, Gail? How can they underestimate some of the women to fight? I'm not understanding what you're saying there. Women are great fighters. Women. I'm going to say right now. I've been on, my soapbox for 10 or 12 years, and it's been the women who have been the digital warriors out there, far surpassing the guys. So we need the guys to, to unbelt their kahunas and, wash them off and put them into action, because we need to get them up and running. Yeah. Yeah, we need more sunshine, I know. And that's what they're trying to do right now. They're trying to smoke us out and keep the sun away from us, which is a great health benefit. Alex, could it take it could take about 10 years, 10 to 15 years for a full cleanup. Yes. There's some serious changes that are being done right now, and I'm sure the very, very smart people that are inside Trump's inner circle are working on right now to do mass, this was mass migration in, and it'll be mass migration out, and money will be the carrot that gets everybody back in their own home country. It won't be anything else except money. So first they got to sort out the money, and that's what they're doing right now. Mm-hmm. Hey, Kainsey. Yeah. Yeah. My comments aren't moving, so I have to just let it go. Let it fly. How you doing, Lynn? I can only read what's popping up. It'll do it itself. I cannot, for some reason, it's not going to go. And if I did miss a comment or a question, just reboot it, bring it down again, type it in again. I will try to catch it, right? I love the questions. Money's the big thing. We cannot function without money, and money right now, they're burning it. It's absolutely worthless. So what are we going to have left when we can't even afford to buy food? Well, we have to turn it into silver, gold, copper. That's what we're doing right now. Take little things. That's why I'm saying, well, we still have some kind of interest rate or wealth on our cash right now. Go out there and stock up on food, dry goods, and stuff like that. So if you can eat that, and protect yourself that way and sustain life for yourself and maybe other people that are around, because it could get very nasty. The solar flare won't be good for the low frequencies. No, they won't, Dino. They will not. They're vibrating at a very, very low frequency right now. Okay, and you can see by it's in their eyes who they are, how they act. They're barely making it from day to day. They don't worry about anything other than food for survival. And when and they have very dark demons in them. And I know that when people get depressed, I'm experiencing stuff like this with people right now that I know, family members, that when they get depressed about all this going on, that's why they're trying to do what they do. They get depressed, and the next thing you know, they have